crushing it with your laryngitis voice. You're crushing it.
Isn't this terrible?
You're doing great. It's so
even
seductive.
Laryngitis cannot shut down free speech. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! And here goes the pyro. All right. I assume Pearl's going to do it the same way, but while we're waiting for her to get down there, and I was going to ask you real quick, how are you feeling right now?
Pretty good. Happy to be here.
You've waited long enough? Are you ready to get out?
I'm hyped. I'm super excited. Come on, let's get the energy up. Yeah, love it. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a little interview earlier, and it didn't run. So I'll just ask you again, what do you think tonight is your best hope for swaying people in the crowd who might not be on your side?
I don't have a lot of hope, to be honest with you. But look, I love that we're having this conversation. I'm excited to scrap a little bit. And if anything, I know it's going to be entertaining.
All right. She said scrap a little bit, so let's get Pearl in here. Come on, Pearl. Here she comes. All right, Pearl, welcome. I'm going to ask you the same question. If you're going to change somebody's mind tonight, one person, how are you going to do it?
I'm going to let the facts speak for themselves.
Fair enough. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this debate, our main card, has a little bit of a different format than what we did previously. We're going to have the opening statements for both of you. Those will be 5 minutes apiece. Then you'll each get 10 minutes to kind of do an interrogatory of the other. That will go back and forth. And then after that, we'll go into open debate. As you saw with some of the other debates earlier, we try to let the other person answer. I'll try to jump in as I can, but for the most part, I want you all to mix it up, all right? Have fun with it.
Sounds good.
And who is first?
I'm first.
I thought so. Anna, take it away. We got 5 minutes.
In a May 2024 appearance on Tim Pool's Culture War podcast, my opponent, Pearl Davis, declared that women aren't really doing much. We're not having kids. We're not really contributing to the economy when you look at output. In fact, she uses this ridiculous assertion to argue that women should not have the right to vote. While it's true the birth rate has declined, and we'll revisit that in a bit, women account for 47% of the American workforce. The Council of Economic Advisors found that women have contributed a substantial portion of the US economic growth since 1970, which wouldn't have been made possible without the feminist movement. By 2017, women were responsible for nearly 40% of total gross domestic product, amounting to a whopping $7.6 trillion. Of course, that figure doesn't include the trillions of dollars in unpaid labor women do every year, tending to the household, raising children, and caring for ailing parents. And when it comes to certain sectors of our economy, women are a dominant and indispensable force. Like in the healthcare industry, where they make up nearly 80% of workers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's 16.4 million women. When it comes to education, in 1960, women earned less than 35% of all bachelor's degrees. Today, they earn roughly 58% of all bachelor's degrees, which Pearl herself benefited from after graduating from Elmhurst University. Women also earn over 60% of master's degrees. I hope to hear Pearl explain how a more educated and skilled population somehow translates to cultural decline, especially as we compete with China in this increasingly multipolar world. The modern feminist movement also had a major impact on decreasing domestic violence, and that's according to the US Department of Justice. Rates of intimate partner violence decreased by more than 60% from 1994 to 2010. And that's thanks to protective order statutes and funding for shelters beginning in the 1970s and 80s. Not only did the two-income household become more financially resilient, especially during economic downturns, women gained the ability to leave abusive relationships, an outcome correlated with improved child health and educational attainment. A culture that protects people from violence is not one that's indicative of cultural decline. Pearl herself has benefited greatly from the feminist movement, thanks to Title IX in 1972, signed by Nixon, of course. Sex-based discrimination in any school program or activity that receives federal funding is prohibited. Pearl herself had a rather impressive record playing for Elmhurst University's volleyball team, having earned all conference honors as a senior. She later pursued professional volleyball in London. She could have stayed in the United States and served in her role as a traditional woman, but she didn't. And she could have been the traditional chaste woman living out her dream of everything women were supposed to do before feminism, but she is neither traditional nor chaste by her own admission. While feminists would have no problem with her personal choices, she has made a career bashing women for theirs. Critics often argue that modern feminism has weakened families and resulted in a lower birth rate. They tend to dismiss empirical evidence demonstrating the insidious impact of the internet, social media on modern relationships. They also brush economic instability under the rug, despite young people citing their personal finances as the main reason why they're holding off on marriage in the first place. In lieu of discussing those factors, Pearl spends much of her time discouraging men from getting married in the first place. During her debate with Trent Horn, she declared that men are better off shacking up without ever getting married. Her reasoning? Women are too fat and STD infected.
25%, that's a lot.
You did say that. She didn't stop to think about how they contracted the STDs in the first place.
Boring.
Data from the National Library of Medicine show that modern men are just as promiscuous as modern women. Men and women are in bad shape, and in the United States, we can discuss why, but feminism is not the reason.
Very good. Thank you. Nice job. Okay, Pearl, we got 5 minutes. You're going to be on the clock, and let's go.
Most debaters and commentators are elitists who tell average Americans from their ivory towers what to think and how to feel. My answer to this question not only comes from covering current events and researching the facts, data, and statistics, but also in my professional experience interviewing over 1,000 people in America and Western nations. Feminism has given women power, and power corrupts. And that's what's happening. Feminism is robbing men of their disposable income and their prime earning years. Feminism has empowered women. It has empowered women to be sexually promiscuous. Feminists say that they fought for women to not subject themselves to the approval of men. Why then are 5 to 10% of women between the ages of 18 to 25 on OnlyFans or other prostitution websites? There are more online prostitutes in America than female Walmart employees. 1 of 3 women will catch an STD at some point in their lifetime. 90% will catch HPV, which is incurable. Feminism has empowered women to abort 1/8 of the world population and 1/3 of Gen Z. Feminists have been so empowered to commit paternity fraud. Paternity fraud is unpunished in any state in the USA or any country in the West. If done correctly, a man will have to pay for a child he was fooled into believing was his until that child reaches maturity. In some states, that man will also have to pay for that kid's college. That is slavery and is forbidden under the 13th Amendment. 1/3 of paternity tests are negative by the American Association of Blood Banks. Feminism has empowered women to rob men of their time, their resources, their reputation, their children, and in the most extreme cases, their lives. They do this through child support, alimony, false allegations, and paternity fraud. How many people in this arena have a brother, a father, an uncle, or a friend who has gone through this meat grinder? Anna has been on the air for 15 years and is completely oblivious to these issues. It's a silent genocide of the lives of millions of men. Standing on the sidelines of the arena, I have 33-year combat veteran Terrence Popp. He served through 3 wars and was almost killed in 2. He got married, had 2 children, and served in the United States Army. Terrence Popp was deployed to Iraq in 2004, and as a member of the airborne infantry, he was wounded by a roadside bomb and suffered a TBI and a stroke from the blast. He was evacuated out of the country, and it took over 2 years until he had recovered. While he was recovering, his wife was plotting to divorce him. His wife murdered his 6-year-old chocolate lab out of spite because he filed for divorce first. When he confronted her, the response he got was, "I told you I did not want you living here." At this point, he was forced to leave the marital home and live out of his car. The divorce took away his home, his children, and left him penniless and saddled with a child support payment he could not afford. Terrence had to pay $144,000 over a 12-year period for a divorce that his wife was empowered by feminists to plan and execute. Terrence went into court to fight for 50-50 custody. Terrence was called a murderer and an assassin in open court and was given 96 hours a month with his children. 96 hours a month is not a father. While homeless, he spoke to many other men who would never get off the streets due to child support arrearages and penalties, and the men constantly getting arrested for unpaid child support. The disparage of losing his children and his home, and his PTSD and constant pain from his wounds, he became suicidal. While at his post in 2008, a former commander of his came to see him to secretly say his last goodbyes. The next day, Mr. Popp's former commander put on his dress blues and went to the Holy National Veterans Cemetery and blew his brains out. Terrence Popp was notified of the death and was shocked because he was planning to commit suicide in the exact same manner. So in effect, his former commander took the bullet that was meant for him. Terrence Popp decided he would not kill himself and has spent the last 20 years saving 576 men from suicide with comedy. If you look to the left of the stage, Terrence is holding the dog tags for every life that he has saved. Now, why am I telling you this? Shout out to Terrence, yeah. Now, why am I telling you this? Because men and American veterans are put in this position because of the empowerment that feminists like Anna have pushed for. There are millions of men that have died in this country from the political power that feminism pushes. Since 1970, an estimated 1.6 million men have committed suicide.
Time. Stop there.
If feminists cared about equality, why aren't they fighting for equality in divorce and family court as hard as they are fighting for abortion, working, or becoming sex workers? Thank you.
Okay, this is gonna be a heavy one. We're gonna go now to the opening interrogations. We have 10 minutes. Do we have that on the clock? Yeah, it's fading in right there. Okay, and take it away. 10 minutes.
Who's interrogating who?
Whoever wants to begin.
Aside from the specific anecdote that you shared, which of course is tragic, can you cite some actual studies that look at these statistics and back up what you say in regard to the outcomes of marriage and divorce in America?
41% of 109 rape cases reported to police in a Midwestern city were admitted to be false by complainants.
In one Midwestern city? And which Midwestern city was that?
You know, you can go from your ivory tower and
I'm
tell
not in an
people what
ivory
to
tower.
think
I'm
and
on
how
this
to
debate
feel.
stage interrogating your assertions, and you've only provided an anecdote.
Right.
Because
It's
if you
not-
look at the data, which I did, of course, you'll find that women are twice as likely to fall into poverty after divorce.
Right, because they can't
Alimony
stop
is paid
spending.
out in 10% of divorces. According to the Census Bureau, the average child support payment is $441 a month, and only 60%
Right, but how
of
much are
those
they
payments
making?
get paid out.
How much?
Women do not get child custody 90% of the time, as you have asserted before. In fact, 95% of custody cases are mutually agreed upon outside of the courtroom. Women get full custody 40% of the time. Men do get full custody 20% of the time. And 40% of the time, it's shared custody, which I think is the ideal situation, assuming that neither spouse is abusive.
And Pearl, excuse me, before you respond, if you could take your microphone out and hold it, it would be easier to hear you.
Okay. Alimony and medical care and dental are not covered by that, so a lot of times it does go above 50%. Again, you can go through the facts, the data, and the statistics and manipulate them any way that you want.
It's not
But
manipulation.
there are
Those are the stats.
there are 1.6 million men in this country. Men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide after a divorce.
Compared to women, what's the number for women?
It's lower.
Really? What is it? Comparative analysis is real difficult for you, isn't it?
Okay.
Go ahead, Pearl.
What's your next question?
You have asserted that men shouldn't get married, that instead they should shack
I didn't say
up.
that.
You did say that with
did
Trent
not say
Horn.
that.
Word for word, you said it makes more sense for them to shack up, live with a girlfriend, instead of getting married. Do you think the advice that you give to men is the type of advice that will fulfill their lives? Because I'll tell you one thing, the best part of my life is my husband. I love my husband. He's my rock, he's my foundation. And no, my husband is number one. I love my career, but you know what my career did? When I met my husband, my career was already established. He, on the other hand, was couch surfing, he was in debt, and didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. I married him anyway. You want to know why? Because I had the economic freedom to marry for love, not for some Chad to take care of me.
How tall is he?
Oh, he's 6'1", about your height.
How many kids did you give him?
None, I don't want kids.
I don't-
Let's
Why
not
don't-
do shouting questions from there, please. Allow these two to debate each other.
Okay, what's your question?
I mean, you don't really have much to answer, so I don't know what else to ask you. Do you think you're helping men by discouraging them from entering fulfilling marriages?
What happens to men if they don't pay child support?
I mean,
What happens? What happens, Anna?
how many men do you think get
What
arrested?
happens to
I don't know
men
what the
when they
number
don't
is,
get-
but the
What
idea that
happens
there's
to
like a
men when
huge
they
number
don't-
of men getting arrested for not doing what they're supposed to do
15%.
and take care of their children, it's not a huge issue.
What happens to men when they don't
Really?
pay child support?
Only
You
60%
gotta-
of
hold on,
child
hold on,
support
hold on,
payments
Anna.
get paid out.
You got to allow her to interrogate you, not them. You got to stop yelling questions
Look,
at her.
you can minimize men's problems all you want, but I don't think you understand how privileged of a position you're in.
In what way? How am I privileged?
Men are the ones that are on the hook for child support. Men are the ones that are on the hook for alimony. It's easy for you to tell men to just take the risk when you're not in that position.
So are you asserting that men shouldn't pay child
Men-
support following a divorce? Do you believe that
Feminists-
women should
feminists
be
wanted-
financially
feminists-
responsible 100% after a
Feminists
divorce?
wanted to be equal. So I say be equal. If you guys want equality, 50-50 custody, no child support, no alimony, no special privileges.
Alimony is paid out in 10%
It doesn't
of
matter if
divorces.
you're part of the
It does matter.
10%.
It does matter because you make
doesn't
it
matter
seem
if you're
like
part of the 10%.
it's a widespread issue when
The
it's
tender
only
years
10%.
doctrine is a sexist law against men. That's sexist.
How is it sexist if a woman decided to forego a career, decided to be a stay-at-home mother, and the marriage doesn't work out, she has no job, she has no income, so you think it's unfair to get support from her ex-husband so she can raise the kids, so she can pay?
60% of kids under 5 have daycare. Daycare is an option now. You wanted to be men.
Do you know how much daycare costs?
You wanted to be men. Here you have it.
Do you know how much daycare costs? Do you think it's free?
Let her answer. Let her answer.
A lot of things are expensive, Anna. I mean,
That's not an answer.
Women have 85% of consumer spending. Women spend money all the time. You spend money on hair dye. You spend money on Botox. You spend money.
You should think about it. I sure am.
You spend money all of the time.
Yep.
So you wanted to be men. Here it is. You're equal. Pay for daycare.
Equality means that when you have a child or children, you're both responsible. So the idea that the woman should take 100% of the costs on herself without any help from her husband or ex-husband is ridiculous. How is that fair?
Well, how is it fair that he doesn't get 50-50 custody?
Well, first of all,
it's
why
50,
are you asserting that they don't?
It's 50% his DNA. Why can't he have 50% custody? Where
there
has
was a study.
I've been
Let
on
me answer
20
your question, even
different-
though I should be interrogating you. I'll answer your question. Massive study out of Massachusetts that looked at 24,000 divorces. In those 25 divorces, they found that in only 8% of cases did men ask for custody. 8%.
Right, because the average American can't afford divorce fees, Anna.
But women can afford
$25,000
to raise the
to
children
get a
by
divorce.
themselves without support from the ex-husband. How does that make sense?
What did you say? I didn't hear you. We were both talking.
You're complaining about the costs while simultaneously arguing that a woman should not get child support in order to raise the children that the former couple had together.
Are you guys equal or not? You want to
Yes,
be equal.
Equality means that you're both responsible
50,
for raising the children, and that includes the
so
costs
you should have
of raising the
equality,
children.
but not at the expense of men. 50-50 custody, 50-50, no child support, no alimony. That's equality. You don't want
alimony
equality.
makes sense if the woman was a stay-at-home mother and doesn't have a source of income. How else would she take care of the kids following a divorce?
By getting a job just like the men.
So you're saying that a woman who doesn't have recent job history is just going to willy-nilly enter the job force, or workforce, I should say, and easily get hired? Do you guys care about this? So do you care about the children or not? Because you're making this about like the poor husband, the poor ex-husband who doesn't want to pay the child support, doesn't want, to take on any of the responsibilities of having children in the first place. Why is it that you seem to have a problem with men carrying out their responsibilities? But when it comes to
men are dying to care about their responsibilities. Men
Really?
are fighting to be a part of their kids' lives.
What's the empirical data on that?
I don't need data. How many people in here have had a family or a friend fight for their kid and not be able to get it? The reason that this happens, Anna, is because lawyers tell them not to fight because it's so expensive and they won't win.
What is that based on?
Based on me.
You have to provide, look, Pearl, I am open to be convinced, but I need more than anecdotes. I need more than vibes and feelings. Because we're talking about something serious here. We're talking about raising children. We're talking about the shared responsibility of raising children. That, of course, includes the cost.
90% of disputed custody goes to women. That's not equal.
90%, that's a totally made up statistic. Where are you citing that from?
All right, let's take a break there because our time actually ran up. Those opening interrogations are over. Let's take a moment here. You guys want to grab a sip of water? All right. The next step is going to be 30 minutes We're going to open it up. Again, open debate. I'd remind you guys, I know everyone's passionate about this. I get that. But we can't have multiple people debating at the same time, right? We've got one debater here, we got one debater here. Let's keep it here, all right? Let's put 30 minutes on the clock, and let's begin the open debate. Pearl, I'll let you pick up here. Go ahead.
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
There are consequences for it, especially when there's a court order for them to carry out their responsibility and pay child support so that child can be raised.
And what happens?
Do you think there shouldn't be legal responsibilities or legal consequences if they fail to carry out a court order to, you know, take care of their kids?
I've interviewed men that have paid millions of dollars in
Don't care about your interviews. Anecdotal evidence doesn't matter. What I need is actual, statistic, empirical evidence. They should pay their child support. $441
What happens?
is the average child support payment. $441 a month.
Yeah, that's for someone that makes $24,000 a year.
You just told me a woman can just go to work and take care of the kids totally by herself.
How does a guy live when he's paying $500 a month on $24,000 a year?
You think $500 a month is too much in child support? Do you know how much it costs to raise a child? Do you know how much childcare costs, for instance? I mean, that mother has to go to work, right? Where's the kid going to stay while that mother is working? How is she going to pay for the
what happens to men when they don't pay child support?
Sorry, say that again?
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
There are legal repercussions for not carrying out a court mandate to do something.
Do you think that fraud should be illegal?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why is it not illegal for women to fraud men on paternity? If a man does not find out he's the father over the age of 2, he is on the hook for child support for 18 years.
I don't know what the law is when it comes to that, but it's wrong. If you're lying about paternity, that is wrong, and there should be legal consequences for that.
Why haven't feminists fought?
It's that simple.
Then why aren't feminists fighting for it, Anna?
Because feminists fight for women, obviously.
Right, that's my point, at the expense of men. You guys want to believe women at the expense of men. Why isn't Amber Heard in jail? Because of the Me Too movement. You guys push believing all rape victims, and now we have rape.
Amber Heard had to pay out a massive settlement.
Yeah, but why isn't she in jail?
You want her in jail?
Yes.
Well,
she ruined his
the penalties
life.
for defamation are what the court's decision is. Right? You want people to go to prison for defamation?
He had to go to 2 different countries to clear his name. Why isn't she in jail? He lost millions of dollars.
To be clear, you think the penalty for defamation is prison time?
I think the penalty for a false accusation is that the woman should get the same time that he would have gotten if he was found guilty.
Men don't go to prison for defamation.
And see, this is the problem with feminists. You want all these freedoms, but you won't actually be equal.
I do want equality.
No, if you wanted to be equal, you would fight for 50-50 child support, no alimony.
No alimony. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So again, if a woman decided to forego working, decided to stay home to raise the children, and the marriage doesn't work out, she's got no income whatsoever, she doesn't deserve any alimony.
Women aren't even doing that. Number one, that's not even women are not staying home with the kids. And number two, you have daycare.
A lot of women do these days, actually.
You have daycare
the traditional women who want to stay home, they want to be traditional wives. And you trash them all the time, which I don't understand.
Look,
it seems like women can't do anything right when it comes to you, right? They're stay-at-home moms, they're traditional,
I understand that you can personally attack me. That's fine.
I'm not personally attacking you.
Okay.
These are things that you have said on the record multiple times.
But if you cared about equality, you would care about false accusations.
I do care about false accusations.
No, you don't.
You don't know me? You don't know what I care about?
Look, all right. Let's talk about rights that men do not have. Men do not have the right to be enlisted in selective service. You know, we have 125K men who were drafted and buried overseas. Think about that over a second. You talk about the oppressions of the past, but how many men died in World War I and World War II and had no choice? And yet Anna complains about oppression. Men do not have the right to face their accuser in court when they have a false allegation and for personal protection orders that strips constitutional rights away from the man. Women go before a judge and say they don't feel safe, and more than likely a PP order will be issued. The man was not in court, had no say, has no defense, and does not get to face his accuser. That is done en masse, and many servicemen and first responders lose their careers over this because it strips a man's Second Amendment rights away based on no evidence. Men do not have the right to raise their children. Divorce is no fault, but when it comes to child custody, it's always the man's fault. He loses his children to the system. 96 hours a month the father does not make. Men have longer prison sentences. Women get a third of the time for the same crime. Where are the feminists fighting for equality on that issue? There has been rampant discrimination against better qualified men in hiring across multiple industries. Men pay more child support, and child support orders are not enforced at the same rates between men and women. Women are more likely
women pay
not
child
to
support.
pay
Fascinating.
and are prosecuted for non-payment at lower rates. Men cannot opt out of parenthood. Men have very few domestic violence shelters and are not taken seriously when they're domestic violence victims.
I agree on that.
White men in particular are discriminated against when it comes to hiring and educational attainment.
True.
The Duluth model is a model that law enforcement, courts, and counselors use automatically that assumes men are the aggressor. The tender years doctrine is a guideline in divorce used to justify removing the father from the child's life. The only institutional sexism that exists is institutional sexism that discriminates against men in favor of women. Furthermore, U.S. courts do not require receipts to show how that money is spent by the custodial parent, unless there's overwhelming evidence of starvation, malnutrition, or severe child abuse. There are numerous reports of custodial
You want the
parents
government to
money
check
on
receipts and see,
Pearl,
like...
let's let her respond to some of that.
Hold on, let's understand something. You want government to be so big that you literally have the government looking at receipts to see what a mother is spending the money on? That's insane.
I want no child support, no alimony, 50-50.
Yeah, because you're crazy and you don't live in reality.
I want equality. I'm more of a feminist than you, Anna. Because I say if you want to vote, be in selective service. Be on the front lines just like the men are.
Who do you think gives birth to and raises those soldiers?
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you assert that women shouldn't be allowed to vote because they're not all in mandatory military service.
I say be equal. You want to vote, do what the men do. Men are fined $125,000.
Should women be included in combat? Should women be included in combat?
Yes.
Okay.
Do what the men do.
Fair.
Do what the men do.
Yeah, fair. Agreed. Next? Next? Nothing? Okay. I want to know what your ideal woman is, because if you are a traditional conservative woman who's married, staying at home, raising kids, you trash them.
There's no such thing as a traditional woman. They cannot be traditional in 2025 because women will always have the leverage.
What does that mean? What does it mean that women will always have the leverage?
Women have child support to fall back on. Women have alimony. So automatically
10% of divorces end with alimony settlements.
And
10%.
And they go.
You just ignore the stats.
They
you
go
just move
from
on.
men to women. They go from men to women. Billions of dollars every year.
I thought you said earlier that women are paying alimony.
Billions of dollars of wealth every year is transferred from men to women. Mm-hmm.
Based on what? Where are you getting that information from? Are you just making it up?
Look, we have it. We're excited. We can get it to you at the end. You didn't want to submit. Where are your sources? You didn't want to submit them ahead of time. You did.
The Census Bureau, Bureau of Labor Statistics. I cited everything I mentioned. Pull it up. Pearl, the main thing I want people to understand, okay? Pearl's gonna trash women no matter what. That's fine.
I'm not trashing
But
them.
my biggest gripe with you is you're discouraging people from entering marriages.
I don't tell men what to do. Sell me on.
You
Okay,
advise
Anna,
men to avoid marriage.
Sell me on marriage. What do men get out of marriage?
That's sad. It's sad that people think that. It really is. You get a partner, you get a teammate, you get to build a life together, and it's beautiful. I feel like misery loves company in this situation. And how would you know what you get out of marriage if you haven't experienced marriage in the first place? I'm not saying that as a personal attack. I really hope that Pearl meets the love of her life and gets married. It's not about that. But you trash it without really understanding what the benefits are.
Why do we have phrases like it's cheaper to keep her?
Pearl,
answer the question.
Divorce is expensive. And by the way, on purpose, to discourage people from getting divorced in the first place.
Why do we have phrases like happy wife, happy life?
Because it's true. Same with happy husband, happy life. I don't want to come home to an angry husband.
But that's not a phrase.
Do you have any other catchphrase or slogan you want to throw at me?
What do men get out of marriage?
They get a partner.
That gains 25 pounds in the first 5 years.
Men get pretty fat too. I don't know if you've done a comparative analysis on that. They actually end up gaining more weight than their wives do. And who cares?
Men.
I mean, have a conversation with your partner. Encourage her. Be an adult.
How can men and women be equal?
Especially if she's giving you children.
How can men and women be equal when one is expected to die for the other?
I don't expect anyone to die for anyone else. I don't know what that even comes from.
Yeah, but men are willing to die for you every day. The men in the police force, the men in the military.
What about the women in the police force?
They're 10%, and they cause so many problems.
Who cares what percentage women make up of the police force?
Yeah,
they're in the police force. My sister-in-law's a cop, actually.
They can't do the same jobs. There's videos on the internet
my
everywhere of
sister-in-law.
women getting their guns taken because they're not strong enough.
Are you just making things up?
No.
Pearl, what are you doing? Like, seriously. Next question.
Do you realize how good you have it in this country?
Absolutely. Best country in the world.
And you get to live the life you live at the expense of men.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
Show me how.
Do you know how many men die every year? There are men that die every year to get you crab.
How many women die every year during childbirth?
Not many.
This country has the highest maternal mortality rate of any developed country, so a lot of women do die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth, yes. This is painful, man. Do you have any other questions for me?
Not right now.
All right. Should I move on? Like, what are we doing now?
Can I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, let's just jump in here. So why don't we do this? I'll ask you one, and then I'll ask you one, and we'll kind of go back and forth. I kind of half jokingly said at the beginning, like Pearl had mentioned, I think you actually said it here too, that you believe you may be more of a feminist. Do you consider yourself to be a feminist, and how would you define that?
I don't consider myself to be a feminist, mainly because it's a loaded word, and there are certain outcomes from certain waves of feminism that I don't agree with, particularly minimizing the importance of men in society. I do think that there is, especially the third wave of feminism that's done that. I personally really value masculine men, and I don't appreciate feminists speaking on behalf of all women in regard to what women prefer. I think the Me Too movement started off as a legitimate grievance with women who were legitimately abused, and it devolved into something laughable and ridiculous, especially when, someone like Aziz Ansari gets accused of being like some sort of sexual predator when he clearly wasn't. So I just don't like how loaded that word is. What I actually genuinely want is equality among the sexes. I'm not looking for women to have an upper hand over men at all. But we need to be based in reality, and we need to look at the statistics and figure out what's really going on. If men are getting a raw deal as a result of divorces, then yeah, the laws need to change. And I genuinely thought prior to this debate that they were getting the raw end of the deal. But as I researched this, I realized I was believing in outdated myths. So, yeah.
Pearl, let me ask you this. Do you believe and obviously you are citing a lot of anecdotal stories. I do think it's fair to point out every anecdotal story is someone's story, right? So they're not fake stories, and they're not meaningless, obviously, to the people who live those realities. In a lot of cases, they're very painful. Because of your platform, you speak to a lot of those people. How much is that informing where you're coming from in this debate? Is the real stories of people who have been hurt by this stuff?
I mean, I've interviewed 1,000 people. I interviewed a guy who had his kid transitioned, and there was nothing he could do about it. I interviewed another guy, and he spent $300,000 trying to get his kid back. He actually went overseas to Ukraine during the war, just trying to be in his kid's life. So yeah, it impacts it a lot. Yeah, I've interviewed so many men that want nothing more than to just be a dad and see their kid. They don't even care about the money. They just want to see their children. And if you ask Anna, it doesn't exist, but if you ask any man, everybody knows somebody that it's happened to. And commentators can, they can try to minimize it. They can talk from their ivory towers and pretend it's not happening, but there's a genocide of millions of men that's going on in this country.
You use the word
genocide?
I was going to say
1.6 million men commit suicide, have committed suicide since 1970.
Similar rates of women also attempt suicide but fail because they usually don't resort to more violent means of ending their own lives. Right, so they'll take pills.
Why is it that every time we bring up men, you have to bring up women?
Because we're doing a comparative analysis here. You can't just throw out statistics without comparing it to what the rates are among women.
What I'm pointing out is, I just pointed out that by 2050, more men will have committed suicide than all of the world wars combined. And your first response was, well, women commit suicide too.
Because it is a problem that is inflicting both sexes in this country. It is a tragedy and should be taken seriously rather than this weird sex war.
But it's not going to be taken seriously when you pretend it's not going on.
It is going on. Are you kidding me? I mean, how many of our soldiers, our veterans, come back to the United States after multiple deployments, do not get treatment or help with PTSD and other mental issues as a result of being deployed multiple times? Right. That's a real problem. How come you don't talk about that?
Yeah, but
you blame it on marriage and divorce instead.
Right, because those soldiers come home to an empty house.
You think that divorce is the reason for most of these suicides?
Men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide after
How many
a
more
divorce.
times likely are women to commit suicide after a divorce?
What about the women?
You don't know the number,
What
right?
about-
Because you
what
didn't
about-
even care to look
what-
into it.
What about the women, though? That's always what you go to. And that's kind of what I'm trying to point out is feminists don't care about male issues. They don't. They do not care about equality. Because whenever you ask them for real equality...
Pearl, my point is that suicide is not just a male issue. It is a huge problem in this country. Women who try to end their own lives are less successful because, again, they're less likely to use a gun, for instance, or hang themselves. They'll take pills, it'll fail. It's just a tragic thing all around. But if you actually care about suicide rates, then you would want to know what's causing the suicide rates or the attempts at suicide.
Divorce.
What can we do as a society to help people to prevent that from happening? And you wouldn't make it specifically and solely an issue that inflicts one sex over the other.
Again, I mean, you're just proving my point because we talk about male issues, you keep bringing it back to the women.
I just want you to compare the stats you're spewing right now with something to compare it to.
Okay. Do you think that women should be on the front lines of the military like the men?
If they can pass the physical test necessary to do so, yeah.
Do you think women should be in selective service like the men?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and they should be on the front lines as infantrymen.
If they are physically capable of doing it, yes.
Okay, so no.
So you want to put people who aren't physically capable, I mean, obese men wouldn't be put on the front lines.
Do you think women should be jailed for false accusations?
Depends on what the false accusations are. If
Just
she's
yes or
falsely
no?
accusing someone of rape, for
Just
instance,
yes or no?
yes.
Just okay. Thank you. I agree. Do you think that child custody should be 50-50?
As long as the court determines that both parents are capable of being caretakers, yes. In fact, that's the ideal situation.
Okay, so yes.
Yes.
All right, do you believe in alimony?
I believe in alimony in specific cases where the woman decided to forego having a career and working, decided to stay home and raise the kids. In those cases, I believe she deserves alimony, yes.
But that's a privilege.
You're ridiculous. Next, move
wait,
on.
You said it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous,
that it's a privilege to stay home with your
coming
kids.
from a girl who grew up in an affluent situation with incredibly wealthy parents. You don't know anything about struggling economically or financially. So to tell a single mother who decided to stay home and raise her children instead of work that she doesn't deserve a penny to raise her kids after a divorce is the most privileged piece of shit thing to say.
This is the type of nagging that drives men to suicide.
Good. But I'm married and you're not, so next.
Jesus Christ. I get it.
A little harder to debate someone who's not an OnlyFans girl, right? Never. I don't need to. Not that I'm judging.
It's why isn't paternity fraud illegal?
We've been over this already.
It's estimated 6% of men are fathering children that are not theirs.
I don't really believe your stats. Like, where are you getting that
The American Blood
stat
Bank
from?
Association. Are you happy?
Okay.
1/3 of
That's
paternity
wrong. And
tests.
yeah, there should be consequences for that.
But there aren't.
Okay.
But there are. Where
And there
have the
should be. So
feminists
we agree
been?
on that. Next.
Right, you can agree, but you haven't covered it. And that's my point, is you guys don't care about equality. You want freedom at the expense of men.
Okay, sure. Next.
Do you think that men should have the right to opt out of fatherhood, since women have the right to opt out of motherhood?
No. Put a condom on. You don't want to have children, Put a condom on.
Or require him to wear a condom. That's equal.
Yeah.
That choice is equally irresponsible.
He's the one with the Johnson. He gets to decide what he does with it.
I think I'm more of a feminist than you.
Sure. Go great. Congratulations. This is the longest 30 minutes of my life.
Okay, I'm going to interject again if I can.
All right.
No, I was kidding. So one thing that I do think is happening is that there is a shift that is taking place in America, and I think you both have alluded to this a little bit. And so I'll ask Anna first if you would agree with this. Because you said that going into this debate, you thought a lot of these things were true.
Right.
And you started to see that maybe these things were not as true as you had believed. Do you believe that your previous belief was informed by nonsense, or the fact that states and legislatures and courts are changing what they're doing over the last few years in terms of alimony and parental time and that kind of thing?
I think that with more women participating in the workforce, it's hard to argue that, women should get paid alimony when they have their own income. So yeah, I think that the culture has changed, the workforce has changed, and as a result of that, the courts weigh whether or not something like alimony makes sense. And look, much like Pearl, I had heard the horror stories, and I was basing much of my worldview on situations like this, based on anecdotes, basically. And so when you look at the statistics and the broader picture, you have a clearer idea of what's actually happening in the aftermath of a divorce.
Would you be willing to concede at least that maybe some of the reasons some of these things are shifting is because of people like Pearl and others who are drawing attention to these stories? Because I think we could all agree that until recently, a lot of those stories were just stories you'd hear from other people, and it was not allowed in media at all. It was not discussed. Would you at least concede that?
I'm sure that there are advocates who have fought to maybe change the way these court cases play out, sure. I don't know about Pearl, though.
I understand. We're in debates. You can't give too much credit. Pearl, in your experience, the men that you talk to, do you see a difference in terms of the age of those men, where maybe it's getting better for some? Because I would take it that some of the guys who are a little older and have been through this in the past, the courts are starting to recognize and realize that maybe it's not very fair.
No.
No?
No.
Why, and why do you believe that? You think the courts are completely oblivious
there's men that write into my show every day just talking about how much they want to be fathers. So I hope it changes, but right now I would say no.
Do you think it's fair that all of the young women who were preyed upon as minors by Jeffrey Epstein are now experiencing yet another administration engaging in a cover-up? Or was it the female's fault for being preyed upon by a disgusting pedophile? I'm just curious.
What kind of question is that?
I think it's a pretty straightforward one.
That has nothing to do with the topic.
No, it does, though, because you're talking about the unfairness of our court system, especially as it pertains to divorces. But we're talking about a guy who got a sweetheart deal after raping minor girls, and then even after that, multiple administrations, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, engaged in a cover-up, ensuring that those victims would never get justice.
And this has to do with this.
I mean, you want to talk about the unfairness in the court system and how terrible it is for men. What about how terrible it is for women?
Look, That has nothing to do with anything.
It has a lot to do
I
with
think
what
in
we're
fairness,
talking
you got to admit that's an anecdote too in comparison to the overall statistics.
It's a pretty big anecdote.
He's a big anecdote, but he's also an untouchable anecdote, right? He's
I don't
a
think
little
it's
different than
untouchable.
most,
I think it's
than most
super
people.
touchable.
So let's go back to, actually, hold on. We got 10 seconds, so we won't hold on. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're actually going to take a break. We're gonna come off of the stage, and then we're gonna actually go up to the analysts and get their take on this first 30 minutes, all right?
Sounds
so take it away,
good.
Sam. Good job.
All right, we are here back at the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver analyst desk. Boys, girls, everyone. Let's start with you. What do you think, Kyla?
Well, I think Anna said it all. I think whatever opinion you have on the topic, that was an absolute bloodbath. Huge respect to Pearl for coming out, but if you're going to hold this position, you should be able to support it. And if you think that Pearl won that debate, you're probably retarded. Like, I don't know, that was a bloodbath. That was rough.
Well, when you kind of get into it and you watch it, this is Anna's world, and we've seen her on Piers Morgan and stuff like that. And, so Pearl stepping up into this, God bless her, thank her for doing it. I do think Pearl had some wonderful moments there. I think she's been running a lot of defense, got in some nice shots, and she got bigger reactions from the crowd, I thought, than the other way around. What'd you think, Gavin?
Well, I guess I'm retarded because I thought Pearl did great. I think that.
You think she won?
Well, you know what I noticed going on over there? Anna doesn't have kids. Pearl has a kid. And Anna was doing this like masculine thing where she was being really,
aggressive,
vociferous and attacking Pearl. And Pearl had this sort of like calm.
Why are we infantilizing Pearl? She's got 2 million subscribers on YouTube. She's an
when
adult.
a woman has a kid,
we are absolutely infantilizing.
What
We're being like,
talking about?
I'm saying women who have given birth, women who have given birth are better than women who haven't
does
given
Pearl have a
birth.
child?
Sorry,
Does
you're
Pearl
more
have a
of a
child?
valid
Pearl has a
woman
child.
if you have a kid.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Wait,
a lot going on in here.
I had a miscarriage. So am I less valid or more valid as a woman? As a
Well,
result?
what happened to you was obviously horrific.
Sure, but am I more valid or less valid as a woman?
Well, you're kind of less valid.
Less
yeah,
valid?
yeah,
I
yeah,
still
yeah,
love
yeah.
you, okay?
That's
I
why.
still love you.
That's why you cried when you had a miscarriage because
didn't cry.
Of course, you cried. I
You didn't
cried
cry
when
at
you
all.
told me.
You just were Terminator and moved
You're
on.
like, yeah, but that's just another day of the job.
Another day.
I was like, oh,
I got shitting
you know,
out miscarriages.
miscarriage
That's my
happened.
day.
You weren't
No.
sad.
It's obviously horrific when a
little,
woman
I mean, a
can't
little
have a baby.
very mixed
But
feelings.
when a woman, like Pearl has this sort of like calmness around her where she goes,
I don't know if I'd
oh,
call
really? We're
that
doing this?
calm.
Okay. All right.
What
That's
was
it.
calm about? She
Anna
was sitting there
is aping
stunlocked.
male characteristics. She's getting super aggressive and attacking like a weird little pit bull that's mimicking male behavior.
But it's also kind of ridiculous to say that we live in a culture where women don't get treated better than men. Let's be honest here. I have this theory. Men make the rules of business, women make the rules of society, okay? And that's why there's things that women can ask men anything they want in debating. In dating, right? How much money you make, what kind of car do you drive, how tall are you? There are things you are absolutely not allowed to ask women.
Sure.
What's your weight? How old are you? What's your body count? Which are all things guys want. So this notion that it's like even Steven is absolutely ridiculous.
I don't think
the
anyone
notion
would-
that the courts treat men and women equally is also ridiculous, dude.
I don't think-
How many times have we seen like a man and a woman commit a crime and the guy gets 30 years and the chick gets like 2 weeks in prison? It happens all
Dude, Lorena
the time.
Bobbitt
Yeah, but the
cut
issue is
off.
Anna and I wouldn't disagree with any of that, right? Like, I think Anna and myself would both agree that's wrong when that happens. Women get infantilized as a result of sexism all the time, which is what you guys are trying to do to Pearl right now. The reality is that if
No,
you watch
I'm
that,
putting her on a
that was
pedestal.
painful. Everyone knows that was painful. And the reality is, it sucks for Pearl. It's tough coming out here and
No.
trying to be a
Well,
debater.
she's taking on, let's face it, one of the Michael Jordans of debating. This
Sure.
is Anna's world.
I totally
then
disagree.
don't take the debate and don't profit off of this worldview if
Anna's
you can't
known
even
for
begin to
debating.
defend
Anna
it.
was a rabid pit bull mimicking male behavior. Pearl was this serene mother
No,
who
she
was
was
like,
not.
"Oh, is this what we're doing?"
She was like a small
Okay,
girl.
I'm telling you the facts. I guess
You're
we
not
can
telling
go
me the
through
facts
this.
because you and I both
No, that was me
know-
being Pearl.
You and I both know that was painful,
and the notion-
uncomfortably painful.
and the
Okay.
notion-
Moderator had
You
to
gotta
step
have
in.
a baby. You
Yes,
gotta have a
that's
baby
what-
soon. You
the
better have a
notion
baby.
that women are committing unaliving themselves anywhere close to the number that men are. And the reason that Anna was like, the reason they didn't do it because they're not as violent about. Not true at all.
Wait,
not true. Men off themselves at a much higher rate.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the notion of give me statistics like Pearl is like ChatGPT is hilarious to me.
Here's what I would say to Pearl. If you're going to have somebody else write your notes, tell them where they cited things from so you can at least not look like a dumbass when you're asked where it's from.
Wow, now you're getting aggressive.
She looked like
Now you sound like a
You're
dude.
so aggressive right now.
Stop it. You're not a dude. Stop being a dude.
Infantilizing women. Stop it.
Stop saying infantilizing. No one's
You're
infantilizing.
saying poor
I'm putting
Pearl.
Pearl on a pedestal.
Not one time.
It's not her fault she didn't know where her stats were from.
No, we're not talking about that.
Who knows what college survey this came
Probably
from?
if it's
not
your notes,
realistic.
you should.
You
Probably
should.
if you put it in your notes, yeah, you should probably know where you're citing your stats from. Yeah.
You should know all. I mean, what you're
Not all
basically-
stats, the ones in
This
your
is
notes.
classic Marxism, by the way. Classic Marxism, which is don't believe your eyes, your ears, or the wisdom of your experiences. So Anna's painting a picture that it's like, woe is me. Like how many more women's homeless shelters are than there are men? There's
more-
like no, it's not even close.
Yeah,
Come
women
on.
get more funding in general because women are viewed as the
100%.
compassionate group. Yeah, but I don't even think Anna would disagree with this. So, like, if you want to engage with what Anna and I believe, engage with what we believe.
What have we gotten wrong in what you believe?
Okay, so for example, Anna didn't even begin to try to pretend that the suicide rates between men and women are equal.
She
said,
100%
nope.
said that.
What she specifically said is that men do die by suicide more often. But part of the reason why is because women use less lethal methods, which is true.
That is such a crazy
Less legal
statement.
methods?
Yes.
That is such a crazy
What does that
statement
mean?
that you're saying the reason they didn't do it was how they did it. You don't know that at all. You're just going
There's
off
data
a
on
feeling
this.
on that.
Nope, there's just data on this.
There's
Just look it
data.
up. Yep.
Okay, give me the where's the statistic from?
I don't have it off the top of my
okay.
head.
The males-
Wait, I didn't have to prepare for a debate. I prepared for an analyst.
If you don't know where they're from.
Probably the Medical Bureau of U.S. has these
You're
statistics.
just making stuff
The
up.
I'm not
male
making stuff
suicide
up.
rate
You're
is at least
literally
twice
telling
the
me.
female
Where's the
suicide rate.
You're not
Because we have to deal with you.
What are you talking
Where's your
about?
stats from?
What are you? I'm life. How many of
That's
my
not-
male
that's
friends
not
have
where
killed
stats are
themselves
from.
compared to my female friends?
Yes,
It's
I'm
not
going to
even
kill
even
myself.
close.
I'm
Everyone
considering
agrees that men
suicide
die.
right now.
Dude, Gavin's thinking about offing himself right now.
I might eat a
Every
shotgun
single
right now.
person here agrees that men die by suicide more often. This is, of course, true. Anna and I both agree with this.
Right. But you're saying the only reason it's lopsided is method?
That's one of the dominant reasons why it's
The
lopsided.
dominant reason.
Women
Stop.
attempt, I think, 8 times
Oh
more.
my God.
You need to make a baby. You're going to change totally. Next time we do this, you're going to.
tried.
You
I
will have
missed
had
it.
a child,
I think Anna's
and you will
is
be serene.
Is dominating.
Pearl tonight was serene.
She was not serene. She was
calm.
stun-locked and terrified.
She was at peace with the world.
Then why
Anna
did the
was like a
moderator have
little
to bail her out of her
chihuahua.
own debate?
But it's like if you're getting name this statistic, and you got to give every single.
It's in your notes, yeah.
You know, dude, are you crazy?
If you
That
if you
just
cite a
doesn't-
stat in your PDF that you prepped for weeks, by the way, they had 7 pages of PDFs. If you have it pre-prepped, you should probably know where you're citing from. I don't have to know what the citations are off the top of my dome because I wasn't prepping for a debate. I was prepping to be an analyst. But even you and I can agree that yes, men die by suicide more. But part of the reason, not the only reason, but part of the reason,
But not
is
the
because of
majority
lethality.
reason, right?
I would say probably the
majority
majority
of the reason
reason
is
that
this
men end
argument.
up choosing lethality more often is because there are less off-ramps for men because by and large the world doesn't have compassion for men. Nobody gives a fuck about men and how they feel, which is why when
Thank
they die
you.
by suicide,
Thank
nobody
you.
cares. This is my position.
There we go. Great.
Yes.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
we're done.
That's not Anna's position.
I imagine she would probably agree with me if she saw the stats.
That you
the stats.
think based on what we saw tonight, she felt men get more men deserve more compassion. Is that what you got from that?
No, I said she would probably agree with me.
But wouldn't that be saying that you think that men
I'm not saying she made
deserve
that
more
argument.
compassion? By agreeing with you, that's what she's saying, right?
But you're asking me, do you think that her argument tonight was this? And I'm saying, I don't think that she made that specific argument, but I imagine now that I'm positing it, if she can hear me, she's probably nodding and being like, yeah, I think we should have more compassion
of
for
how
men.
the whole discussion on divorce is complete BS, okay, is that if you look at Kentucky made divorce 50-50, automatically 50-50. And you know what happened there? You know what happened?
What
Divorce went down 30%.
Wait, what do you mean 50-50?
They made it so the father and the mother automatically get 50-50. It's not we're going to decide in court. It's automatically 50-50 in Kentucky. And divorce went down significantly because women realize that they're not going to be able to game the system right now. And listen, I'm not saying moms don't get treated bad or single mothers don't have it hard. I have kids. Being a single mother is so hard. I totally respect that. This is not an anti-women rant at all. But this notion that men for the history of divorce, have gotten a short end of the stick is absolutely ridiculous. A mother has to basically be like crazy enough to say she wants to assassinate the president to lose custody of her children. They have to be that crazy. A guy has to walk a perfect rope just to get 50-50.
So I believe 60% of marriages end in like the 50-50. Here's what I would actually challenge to you. I think one of the problems with the modern day court is that 50-50 means that men get kids like every other weekend. And I don't actually think that that's 50-50. I think that's insufficient. But part of why the court presumes this is because women are assumed to be back home in the kitchen, which means if you ask mom versus dad, what's your kid's teacher's name? Most of the dads don't know because they're busy working all the time because we've told men that their value to society is fundamentally the income that they bring in.
Because that is their value. Again,
knowing your teacher's name is gay.
I think a man's value
that's for losers.
Okay.
That's a woman's job.
You're acting like that's a bad thing. Because now we're getting
tying
into
men's value to their
Mrs.
GDP
Hamilton?
output?
Who the
Yes.
fuck is
You
she?
think it's bad that traditional values are men are providers, women are nurturers. You think that's bad?
I think it's exactly what has created the situation where men have to fight incredibly hard to get custody of their children, is this presumption. Yeah, why do you think men are killing themselves at a high rate? Why does nobody have any compassion for them? Because the moment you go from a boy to a man, nobody cares about your feelings. You better get out there and work.
Why?
And if you're not working,
you know
you're
why?
garbage. I think that's
we don't
bad.
want you to care. We don't want compassion.
Yes, you do.
We don't like empathy. We don't like compliments.
That's not true.
We don't like any of that shit.
Tell that to the suicidal men.
We just work
Tell that to
all
the
day,
suicidal
and then you
men.
take our
And the
kids
addicted
away,
men.
and we snap.
I think that the majority of men check out because there seems to be no way out of the situation.
That's horrible. That's because we don't. That's to my point. That's wrong. Men are more valuable than just the money that they
Just
make.
stop.
Men are valuable because of the principles, because they fight
Stop
for things
buying
that they
cars.
believe in.
You
because
guys
they are
ruined cars.
Fathers who care about
All
their children.
cars look like cough drops because of you.
Cars?
Cars.
I would
Women
take
buy
that- I
all the
would take that
cars.
with,
They look like cough drops. Whether it's a Lexus, a fucking Jaguar, they all look like cough drops
Didn't they
because you
only
guys
introduce
don't
women
like
body
right
shapes
angles. The cars used to be beautiful. Remember the 50s? You watch Men in
I don't
Black.
think this is feminism.
You're like
I think
Ford
it's a safety
Galaxies.
standard.
All these cars are beautiful, and then you guys took over all the buying power for everything, and now
I'm
cars
gonna-
are the ugliest,
I have
most
a strong
boring,
bet that the number one consumer
round
of cars is
piece of
men.
garbage.
Crazy.
Do you guys think the number
Just
one
stop.
consumer of vehicle purchases
Just
is
stop.
men or women? It's probably men.
Well, who
It's
do you
women.
think tells the
It's
guy
probably
what
men.
to buy?
Well,
Who do
you can
think
say
tells the
probably if
guy
that
what
makes
to
you
buy?
feel good,
Women
but
make
it's
70%
women.
of the purchase. So it's just a fact.
Women buy everything.
Yeah, women tend to be the ones that are going to the grocery store and making purchases for the entire
And
family.
Yeah,
telling
That's
them
true.
you
what
wrecked
car to buy.
cars.
That's true.
I
That's
hope
also
you're happy.
why generally custody
I hope
falls
you're
on the
happy.
women
You
because
ruined
she knows-
cars.
I have nothing to do
You
with cars.
ruined cars.
I think safety standards ruined cars,
That's
actually.
exactly. Yep. That's
yeah.
another. That's a
But
synonym.
did you know actually that the woman body wasn't introduced into safety standards until like last year? So if this is anyone's problem, it's men's
What,
problem.
last year?
Yeah, last year they built a body double for
Every
cars for
single
testing
car
for
looks
safety.
the same because you guys are scared about
I think this is
climate
men's.
change.
Who owns the automotive industry? Men.
They're selling
Who
to
buys
women.
the cars? Men.
No,
Yep.
women. Women
Which
buy all the
test dummy body type are they
you're
using?
just making up shit that makes you feel good. This is not facts. Women buy all the
You are
cars.
not listing any facts, and you're
Wo-
also
women
saying,
just
think
"Wow,
that you're-
I feel bad for men, but also we should do men to the exact same
Well,
plight that
because
we've been
you're
doing them
just
to before."
stop.
what you're
What is
saying
this?
right now is not reality. It's just your feelings. The notion that women don't have a huge say in what car is getting bought is absolutely crazy.
didn't say that. I said that who's
you
the number one
totally
purchaser?
you
Women
said-
buy all the
so I
cars.
put down the money. I put down the money. But guess what? If a father came or a husband came home with a car that the wife didn't like, his life is miserable. They have every say.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, 100%.
So what's like the whole trope of like men buying motorcycles and shit? Is that because the woman actually wants them to buy a motorcycle secretly?
It's because we're in a midlife crisis and we feel like nobody loves us.
Yeah. Well, why is that? Because nobody cares about men because you want to tax
Because
their
nobody
value to
loves
TV.
us.
Yeah,
you
you're
just-
right. And what I want is a world where we look at men and we say you're valuable not because of the money that you make, but because of the things that you
Yeah,
contribute.
but listen, you're not in
Philosophically.
reality,
Can
though.
you just apologize for wrecking the world?
You're not in reality.
You ruined
watch
cars.
these
You
dating-
invented divorce.
these man
You elected.
Hold on. You watch these
Pierre Trudeau.
man on the street videos.
Justin
The first
Trudeau.
thing chicks say, gotta make 6 figures, gotta make 7 figures. They're
I
never
do
like,
those
I like a guy
interviews.
with a good sense of humor.
I do those interviews. You want to know
All
what?
right, all
They're
right.
cherry picks.
Great debate, great
Yeah,
debate. Let's
yeah.
send it back to Ben.
That's the way it should always come back. A little pyro. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back. We have about 15 more minutes of open debate, and then we're going to get into the final statements. So we'll pick up our open debate. Pearl, I'll let you begin.
What's your plan when men stop doing the dirty and dangerous jobs that keep society running?
If you could hold your mic.
Sorry, I'll say it again.
Can you give me an example of which jobs you're referring to?
Logging, plumbing, crab fishing, oil rig.
Yeah, those are dominated by men. They have the physical capacity to do it. Men and women are built differently.
What's your
So you're
plan
right.
when they stop?
I mean, we're going to have a problem. Are you suggesting that women should be forced to work on oil rigs and things like that?
What is your plan?
That's a
What do
ridiculous
men
question.
get out of doing those
I don't
jobs?
have a plan, Pearl, for a
Feminists
situation in
never
which
do.
men no longer do those jobs.
They never
Maybe you
do.
do it. I don't know.
What's your plan when men start walking away from marriage? What's your plan?
So, do men or women get a raw deal from marriage? Because you just said
What is your
men
plan-
walking away
what
from
is
marriage.
your
So,
plan?
is he culpable for doing that?
What is your plan when men walk away from marriage?
Is he responsible for walking away from a
changing the
marriage?
topic. What is
or
your
is he
plan?
just never guilty of
My
anything?
point is you shit on men.
I don't shit on
and
men.
Yet
I love men.
Yet the very microphone you're using was built by men. The building was built by men. And there's no gratitude or appreciation. You just tell them they're not doing enough.
Got me. You got me. Yep.
So what's your plan when men start walking away from society?
What do you mean by walking away from society?
When men stop doing the dangerous jobs, when men stop getting married, when men stop having kids.
To be quite
What
honest
is
with
your
you,
plan?
if American men decide they no longer want to do those jobs, very likely our government will import men from countries where they're willing to do those jobs. That's probably how
And
it's
what's
going to
your
work
plan
out.
when they date American women and then decide to stop too?
I'm not worried about that.
Of course you're not.
No. I never had
The
any
future
problems.
is not going to be great for feminists. You guys are going to get the equality that you're asking for. Men are not going to protect women in the streets. Men are going to stop signing up for the infrastructure jobs. The birth rate's going to keep falling, and the future is going to be bleak.
Okay. Listen, I think men and women serve important roles in society. I think that you have a shallow understanding of what I believe, number one, but more importantly, what the dynamic is between men and women in modern society. You're under this weird impression that the anecdotal evidence that you cite is indicative of the outcome of all marriages. In reality, study after study shows that married
Half of
couples
marriages
tend
end in
to be
divorce.
happier than single individuals.
Right? They're happy before the divorce.
Divorce is terrible. Divorce
And the
means
other
that the
thing
marriage
is,
didn't work
yeah,
out. Obviously, they're not
you're
going to be happy in the
attributing
middle of a
Like
divorce.
correlation doesn't mean causation. People marry happy people and date happy people in general. You're attributing it to marriage, but you're not going to marry someone that's a bitch.
Okay.
You're right, Pearl.
You know, what's really interesting is if you look at marriage rates,
Food,
which have dropped in the United States, not just in the United States, actually globally, you'll notice that the people who are less likely to get married happen to be those who are from a lower socioeconomic status.
Right, marriage is disappearing from the middle class. That's true.
From poor individuals, yes.
What's your point?
Do you wonder why?
Because women marry rich?
People forego marriage due to their own personal financial situation.
So women marry for money a lot.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going back to this.
Let me ask you something, Pearl.
Men.
Would you be willing to marry a guy who's poor?
Men.
Because I married a guy who was in debt and loved the hell out of him. Best thing in my life. Would you marry a guy who is broke, no career, and in debt? Would you?
That's very nice, Anna.
Would you?
So I'm going back to the topic.
Answer the question. Would you marry a broke guy in debt?
All right, so we're going back to the
topic. Would you?
All right, this is the nagging. This is the nagging again. Okay, so
I'm pushing you to answer a question because you are judging women, making a blanket statement of who they would be willing to marry, who they wouldn't be willing to marry. But you're not answering the question yourself. Would you be willing to marry a broke guy in debt?
Does your husband have to listen to this?
Would you?
Does he have to listen to this?
Oh, he loves it.
All right,
can't get enough of it.
Can I go back
Do you
to the
not want to answer
question?
that? Why do you not want to answer that?
Yeah, why not?
Just say, no, I don't want to broke.
Love is love. Now, back to the question. Men, 88% of the food. The power grid, 93% men. Transportation, 95% men.
Men are an important society.
Communications, 90% men. Material production, 78% men. Software, 80% men. Auto workers, 98% men. Carpenters, 98% men. Electricians, 98% men. If you remove the top male-dominated jobs from the economy, you would have no running cars, no housing, no electricity, no open machinery, no materials or fabrics, and no computers. There would be no buildings and no Amazon delivery.
I've never once said that men are not a very important part of American society.
You want men enslaved to women for nothing in return.
No, you're just making
That's
things
what you
up.
want. That's what you want. You want men on the hook for
Okay,
child
Pearl,
support.
what have I said that gives you that impression?
Let her finish
What
her
have I
statement.
said that gives you that impression?
You want men on the hook for child support. You want men on the hook for alimony.
You want men to not take responsibility for their own children.
You've been on the air for 20 years, and you have not advocated for men that are victims of paternity fraud. You want men to do all of the work, get no credit for nothing. And men aren't going to do it anymore. They're going to walk away, Anna. They're not going to do it anymore. And feminists, as you said, have no plan for when that happens. And I wish
What do you want their plan to be? You think it's a feminist responsibility to plan for this made-up society where all men decide they no longer want to work?
You guys know what's funny? She actually advocated for left-wing policies the last 20 years. And then she got assaulted by a homeless person.
What does that have to do with the topic
Because
at hand?
it was the result of what you voted for, Anna.
Yeah. First of all,
and so and want to know why? Because
you think
Anna,
I voted? Hold on. You think I voted for homeless people to go around sexually assaulting people?
Because Anna
By the way, I got sexually assaulted by a guy. Was that
do you know what
his
the other crazy thing
was
is?
that something that he did, or was that my fault too?
All right. So the other crazy thing is that Anna complains that women's opinions aren't taken seriously, while a whole event was catered around her opinion. The other thing that's crazy,
what are you talking about?
Is Anna complains about women being oppressed, and yet she had less experience than her co-host at the Young Turks.
Hold on, hold on. What were my complaints about women being oppressed? Can you be specific?
All right.
What did I say? Go ahead and quote me. Go ahead and quote me, because you make shit up.
Yeah,
and you just think like it's going to stand. You've never had a strong woman challenge your bullshit assertions. So go ahead and tell me, what have I complained about?
Okay.
Give me the quote.
The nagging. You said women's opinions are not taken seriously.
When did I say that?
In a YouTube video.
There's 2 women on this stage right now for the headline event.
Oh my God, are we going to end?
When have I said women's opinions don't get taken seriously?
It's
you
kind
just
of
make
like
it
the
up.
roundabout. This is like, eternal nagging.
What is your plan for when the
there she
80%
goes.
of women who work in the healthcare industry no longer want to do it? What's your
I
plan?
have a plan.
Yeah, what's your plan?
Let's give the jobs to the men. They'll do it better. Because we see what's happening in the media. You know, women fly planes, they crash them. All women almost burned down California. You know, people are dying because they want to make women feel better. People, literally,
what I'm curious about is whether or not the Pick Me Act ever resorted into anything positive for you.
Are you done?
I'm not.
All right, so I'm not either.
Okay, keep going.
Now, the other thing is, women fly planes, they crash them. Women are in CEOs.
What are the stats on that? What are the stats on that?
You know, it's like feminists. They want stats that say water is wet. The
Yeah,
sky
I
is
want
blue.
empirical evidence
Right,
to back up your arguments.
Because you want to be in control of telling people what to think and how to feel.
No, I want to be in reality. I want to live in a fact-based reality that requires empirical evidence, not your assertions.
300. We all saw that plane crash on the East Coast. No one's making that up, Anna.
You do better when you're reading off your paper, so I'll give you some time to do that. In the future, because I'm sure you'll find yourself in more of these debates, I actually think that you could be an incredible debater. But you need to look at the broader picture, not just rely on anecdotes, and don't make things up out of full cloth.
Okay. Feminism empowered women. I'll take the tip, thank you. Feminism empowered women to sign up for previously male-dominated careers that they quit. 48 to 73% of female lawyers, depending on the type of firm, quit either as junior associates or at mid-career. 1/4 of them cite workload, burnout, mental health. 73% of women who got engineering degrees in the past 15 years either have never entered the field professionally or quit early mid-career. 55% of all female accountants quit before or at their mid-level career. The attrition rate for women in STEM is approximately 50%. These companies often bend over backwards to get women hired to the point of discrimination against male qualified candidates. Then women quit because they don't want to work the long hours or deal with the levels of stress for an extended period of time, with women being 2.5 more likely to take antidepressants than men. The money and prestige isn't worth it to them. They prefer lower pay, lower workload, and higher job security. Feminism has empowered women to go to college and take out loans they can't afford for career paths that will not generate them income to pay off those loans.
Men have higher debt than women.
Right, because
do.
Women put their biggest expenses on their husband's credit card.
According to Experian, and they look and
women are
account for those factors that you just mentioned.
Women are 85% of consumer spending. We lead when it comes to luxury brands.
Men have more mortgage debt, car loan debt, personal credit card debt,
right? Because they're
they're
expected to provide. Women make 80% of consumer buying decision. Again, if feminists really cared about equality, they would provide for the men.
They would what for the men?
Where's
Sorry,
king
I missed
treatment,
that.
fellas?
Sorry, can you repeat
If
that?
feminists cared about equality, they would provide for the men. But yet, that is a small minority of women.
Wait, so let me get this straight. Honestly, your whole shtick is women should bend over backwards and do everything they can for men. My argument...
I'm an egalitarianist.
Hold on, my argument is that men and women are both tremendously important to a functioning society. They should both be treated with respect. They both serve different jobs, different roles, and in order for society to work, we have to respect that.
Women are
but
not
you
equal.
seem
Women are
to
not
put the onus and responsibility of everything onto women while providing cover for the bad behavior of men.
Women are not equally important because they don't do the equal
Men
work.
are equally important.
Women
I
are
never
not
said that they weren't.
Women are not equally important because they don't do the equal amount of work. Men have invented the majority of the inventions. Men have
Really?
started
Yeah.
Fortune 500 companies. Men do the majority of the infrastructure job. Men produce 90% of
Who's scrubbing the toilets
80%
after
of the
work?
food supply, 90% of the world's stuff.
Who's changing the diapers?
Not
Who's-
women.
who's
Not
raising
women. They're
the
not having
children
kids.
after
Women aren't
working
having kids,
all
so
day
women
long?
aren't doing it. Daycare workers now, to be honest. It's not the moms.
Not everyone grew up in an affluent household like you. They need a dual income household in order to make ends meet in this economy.
Anna, you
live
talk.
in reality for
Anna,
one day
you
in your
talk.
life.
Anna, you talk for a living. It's kind
I
of
do.
rich for you to come at me.
What, bitch? What do you do for a living?
I also talk, but I can acknowledge it's not that hard
Okay.
of a job.
Talk a lot of
where
bullshit.
you pretend it's more important than it is.
Right. Okay.
Well, since there were only about 30 seconds left, we'll just call it there. All right, good job. Give these debaters a round. All right, we have 5-minute closing statements where you will not attack each other or call each other names. Anna, you're first.
I'm just going to go ahead and read what I couldn't get to in my opening statement, if you don't mind. Taking advice from someone like Pearl will ensure that you will be lonely and incredibly sad. If you have this dark view of an entire sex, nearly 50% of the country, I can't imagine living day to day being a happy person. I don't know what Pearl actually believes. Part of me feels like this is a shtick. But I'm going to take what you say at face value and just think you genuinely believe it. And if you do genuinely believe it, I actually feel really bad for you. If you think women in general fit in this weird description where they're looking to take advantage of people, where they're looking to rip people off, where they're looking to get married only to divorce and steal a man's money, you live in an alternate universe. Sometimes divorces are ugly. Sometimes there are bad women who make things up, who lie about rape, and there should be consequences for that.
But there aren't.
The difference between you and me is that I think the bad behavior of women deserves consequences, just like the bad behavior of men deserves consequences. That's what
one's
equality
legal,
is.
one's not.
What you're advocating for is a society in which men get away with everything and women get blamed for everything. That's it. I mean, what else am I going to say?
All right, that was her close.
All right. I can go? Yeah.
You might as
All
well.
right.
Jump in there.
Feminists are mainly white, middle-class, female liberals who have no idea how the real world works and yet want to advise you on how to live in it. Let me go through your complaints. Feminists want control over their bodies. You win. You have 12 types of birth control, and you can actually Uber Eats a Plan B. You have abortion on demand, and in the states that it's not, it's simply a weekend trip. You have aborted an eighth of the world population. You win. Feminists wanted to fight against rape culture. You win. If a woman is raped, assaulted, or if she revokes consent after the fact, she has the power to get a man fired from his job, kicked out of school, or thrown in jail. You won, feminists. Women want to be free of traditional gender roles? Fine. Men invented the dishwasher, the Roomba, the air fryer, fast food, and Uber Eats. There are meal prep services and cheap restaurants. You win. Women wanted to have a career first and get married later in life. Men allowed women to come into the workforce and have millions of dollars in funding, pushing women into male-dominated fields and scholarships, and invented IVF to give us another 5 years of fertility. The husbands pay for the IVF, and they are pushing to get it taxpayer funded. You win. Women wanted to be sexually liberated instead of getting married. Men invented Tinder and Hinge so random men can literally come to your door. The men from your hometown are not good enough. Men invented social media so you can get flown out by the highest status men in the world. Men did not Women did not want to work labor jobs? Fine. Men invented social media so you can talk into a microphone and get paid. You can now work from home so you can have a family and be a mom. You can make money selling your nudes on the internet and become a billionaire. Women did not want to give birth? Fine. Men invented surrogacy so another woman can do it for you. Women wanted to be thin without working out. Now you have Ozempic. You want to look younger? Fine. Men invented Botox, hair dye, filters on your phone, nose jobs, Anna knows, plastic surgery, lash extensions, makeup, and AI to make you look thinner.
You
win.
should look into it.
You can now wait till 40 to have a baby, freeze your face, work in an air-conditioned office, earn a living sitting on your ass, getting fat, spending money you don't have, marry someone to pay it off, divorce him, put him on alimony and child support, get a Roomba, abort your kid, have unprotected sex on camera, get paid for it, order any cooked food to your door, get a self-driving car, and then complain to men that they caused you to be lazy and fat. You are now empowered to have 10 abortions, bang 300 men, take a DEI position that pays $300K a year, Uber Eats a Plan B, study underwater basket weaving, and get sympathy when your degree pays no money. Feminists are spoiled, liberal, progressive women that have no idea how good they have it. You guys will never be happy until men are nothing but empty shells who are slaves to the system, fueled by feminists' selfishness, spending habits, and poor choices. Feminists don't care about equality because if they did, there would be equal rights for men. There would be equal men's shelters. There would be equal funding for men's cancer. There would be real equality. I checked 20 different feminist websites and have not found one that mentioned a single issue that asked for men to be equal. It only asked for special treatment. Feminism has empowered women to destroy this country through the death of 1,000 cuts. Feminism is not about equality, it's about insidious domination. It has been a slow creep to where women are complaining about their non-existent oppression. Men have figured this out because they're highly adaptive and the math is not mathing. I am curious to know feminists' plan when men refuse to stop providing, protecting, and maintaining the civilization you enjoy corrupting. Feminists are about to fuck around and find out. Feminists have won. You destroyed every single male group that used to be strictly for men, like Boy Scouts. You can falsely accuse men of rape, harassment, and endless lawsuits. Feminists have more political power, voting power, and spending power than any other group. Everybody caters to you. Corporations cater to you because women are the primary purchasers. Politicians because they need the vote. Men have to pay child support to a rapist. Men are not believed when they're abused. Men have to die at work and at war. Men have to pay child support for 18 to 21 years. Men have to register in selective service. Men are not given additional consideration for college admissions, jobs, opportunities, and scholarships. Children are not DNA tested at birth, leading to paternity fraud, which is not prosecuted at all. And men will more than likely deal with this in their lifetime. Men are the majority of the homeless. Men are the majority of the suicides. Women can hit men, and men can't hit back. Feminism has empowered women to destroy men, and congratulations, 1.6 million men have committed suicide. What more do you want, Anna?
All right. That is the debates. Let's give it a big hand for these two debaters.
Thank you.
All right, so if you're here in the room, you go, and also if you're watching online, of course, the many tens of thousands of you who are right now, you go to wordwardebate.com, and that's where you're going to cast your vote. And let's get these guys to shake hands here. Yeah? Great job. Great job. All right, Sam. People are voting. Send it up to you guys.
Let's go. Give it up for the ladies. They brought it. That was a fire debate. So what do we think? Dude, Pearl came back late rounds swinging. What are your thoughts, Kyla?
I think it's very interesting that she has to build a straw man because she can't deal with the real deal sitting in front of her.
What? Explain that.
I mean, her closing statement just like made a bunch of assumptions about Anna's position that she has already explicitly said that she doesn't hold.
Give me an example.
most of it, how Anna just wants like men to not be benefited in any way, that like women just like want to see men like in like worse positions. Like Anna's been very open, like, yeah, I mean, if there is fraud, we should investigate that. We should try to like balance these things more. If men are not getting their due like process in court, we should try to fix these things.
And you
right?
said
have to
she
erect a straw man.
specifically said that too.
Yeah,
I think
what
she's
Pearl
talking
has to
about
do-
feminism in general.
Well, she's talking this is the interesting thing. Everyone wants to fight the feminist, and then when they have to actually deal with it, they need to make a straw man because they can't tear down the real one, as we saw, which is why it's such an utterly painful bloodbath.
I disagree. Gavin, McGinnis, thoughts?
You see two women debating, and it comes down to childlessness. Childless women have no value. And you know what it's like? It's like Clark Kent working at the Daily Planet, and he doesn't fly, and he's like, hey, Lois, and he's bumping into shit all the time. That's what childless feminists are. They're Clark Kent.
Pearl?
You don't use your flying power. So we this was all semantics. It was kind of irrelevant semantics at the end of the day, because all women's value in society is breeding.
What was the semantic piece? What was semantic here?
Well, I'm saying having women debate at all is semantics.
These are your guys' headliners. Are you saying that word war regrets
I like
having
women
these
debating, for the
headliners?
record.
Oh, interesting.
Now, because it's the elephant in the room. Like you're talking to two wizards on the stage, and one of them is using his magic powers, and the other isn't.
Pearl didn't use her magic powers.
She
Pearl,
did in the second
Pearl
half,
used
for
her
sure.
magic powers. She made a baby. Anna didn't. It's
Does Pearl
massive.
have a child?
It's a massive thing to overlook, and that's why I hate when people equate men and women as the same person. They're
Nobody's doing that.
wildly different. Women are magic, and if you're not using your magic powers, you're kind of less valid.
I think men are magical too. Okay, just in different ways.
No, men are not magic.
You guys can
A
beat me
female
at
spider is like this big. A male spider is this big.
That's true, but I am
And the
not a
female
spider.
spider eats the male spider after they
That is true of arachnids. Yes.
Yes, that's true
Make
for
love.
records. By the way, a lot of stars out here for the first Word War debate, and one of the biggest, Jiu-Jitsu Jesus, Eddie Bravo, joined us here on panel. One of my favorite human beings on planet Earth. Eddie, thoughts, questions, feelings?
I mean, it's pretty obvious that men and women are equal. I mean, that's obvious.
No.
I mean, just look at the number of strip clubs for women compared to the number of strip clubs for men.
It's so
50%. It's 50% across the board. Some states it's more for women.
You think there's more male strip clubs than there are the female strip
Oh
clubs?
my God!
And when
oh
women
my
go to
God.
strip clubs, they're
Oh
laughing
my
their
God!
heads off. It's not
There's
even
way more
sexual.
strip clubs for women than there are for men.
There's whipped
They're
cream.
everywhere.
They're all
they have
giggling. It's
minotaurs in
not
them?
sexual.
And women
Just
get
asking
laid
for
at
Sam.
strip clubs way more than men get laid at strip clubs, by the way. That's a statistic that you go to what the fuck is happening at mensstripclubs.com, and you'll find that statistic right there, okay? There you go, there if you need a link.
I was at a
Men
strip
are
club last
boomers,
night. I was at
confirmed.
Stilettos down the street.
Yeah.
And we were just staring at women's vaginas like, that is a masterpiece. The idea of women looking at scrotums and just being like, wow. Look
I
at that
think it's
bag.
disgusting, but you know we're going 50-50 on this. You know they gotta if we're looking at the beaver, they gotta look at scrotum. You
Okay,
know?
so you're on the feminist side for sure.
It's obvious. Look at the amount of strip clubs per capita.
Yeah.
Women are constantly admiring our scrotums.
Women, dicks are ugly.
They're
Can we
doing,
agree
they're
on that?
doing watercolors
This
of our
is the type of
scrotums.
conversation, by the way, that only men can have with each other. Just
You can
obsessed
jump
with
in at
genitals.
any
You can
point.
jump in.
As a woman, I
Do you
have
dispute
nothing
my
to
claims?
contribute
Yeah,
to
Are you
women aren't great
disputing
at
my
sarcasm.
claims?
They're not great at
Are you
sarcasm.
disputing my claims?
You know, I don't love either genitalia. They're both kind of weird.
Okay, respect
called
on
irony, my
that.
dear.
Respect on that. See, this notion that somehow it's like society is hard on women. They always bring up like CEOs, how many female CEOs versus male CEOs. The actual number of people in the population, the percentage that could actually run a billion-dollar industry is maybe 1%. If we go to actual like what everybody can do, like waiting jobs, service jobs. If we go to social media, women have it way easier on social media. Ask any social media manager who has it easier. You can blow up a female account way easier than men. Women
Yeah.
are dominating on social media. It is the new way to go.
And
But
you know
she's gotta
another way
use
they
her sexuality to do it,
another
right?
way they dominate too is women can travel and they just go by themselves. They're like, you know what, I'm gonna buy a one-way ticket to Spain, and they know once they land, they're gonna have people
during
like helping
COVID,
them out.
the
Guys
only-
can't do that.
The
A guy
only
does that.
people allowed to travel openly during COVID was Instagram models on yachts. I was locked down in my
I
house.
don't know if I believe that at all.
No, 100%.
I don't believe that at all.
100. This is statistics.
Who owned the yachts?
Old rich men, war criminals.
Interesting. Okay. Men.
Not women.
You're right.
Yeah, because they
that's
don't
to
want to
my
pay the
point.
insurance. Hey, let's throw it down to Ben. Is Ben there? Ben is not there. Where's okay? Eddie, thank you for joining us. We love
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Please
Appreciate
welcome our moderator. And dude, everyone was loving how he was moderating on the show. Please welcome my good friend, the very good-looking Ben Swan. How are you?
Gorgeous. Breathtaking.
Crazy.
Breathtaking.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Full homo.
Melt in your mouth.
How was
gorgeous.
that debate, huh?
Debate was fire. I mean, a
Wow.
lot of people thought Pearl was taking big shots early, but she came back and she just started dropping bombs. 2 out of the 3 of us thought that.
I don't think that's even true. I think you guys are being very nice to Pearl, and that's nice of you guys.
We're feminist.
Yeah. This is the feminist moment for you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
You're like,
So,
you know
okay.
what? That poor sad woman, we're gonna help her
Ben,
out.
you were
So do you want the truth?
yeah. Ben, you were on stage. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Ben?
I mean, come on.
You thought it was one-sided?
Listen, I'm actually a huge fan of both of these ladies. I think they're both incredible at what they do. I've been fans of both of them for a long time, but it was not an even debate. It wasn't even close to an even debate. I think the problem was part of it's an experience thing, probably.
Yeah.
Look, Anna does this all the time. She does it.
She came
on
into
news
Anna's
networks.
world.
I mean, she's more experienced. Debate in this kind of a forum is a bit of an art form. And the more experienced you are, it's like watching 2 fighters. It doesn't mean that Pearl isn't good at what she does, and it doesn't mean she didn't have good information, but she wasn't ready for this particular fight.
Yeah.
And I think that showed up pretty quick.
Yeah. Anna went Dagestani on her. Just mauled her, put her on the ground, and dry humped her for the first half. But I felt in the second half,
now that
I
Ben
felt
agrees with
Anna,
me,
I
you know?
felt Pearl came and dropped some nice Muay Thai on her, and it made
Well,
some nice.
I'll tell you this. I think that if Pearl had to do it over again, like if we said this debate is in a week, and now she's had even just this experience, she would approach it differently.
I agree.
And I think statistically she'd approach it differently. Again, listen, some of this is a disadvantage, I would say, of being the main card on the first show. So next time we do this, the debaters will be prepared in a different kind of way. They're going to show up with their stats. They're going to show up with their numbers. So it's a bit of a learning experience. What's the saying? Don't ever be the first bird out of the bush. That's the one that gets shot. Everybody else takes off afterwards, right? And I think when you're on the very first show, she wasn't quite ready for how she was hit, and so.
Look, as a feminist, I don't want to infantilize women. They're both grown adults. Pearl has
saying
2 million on
infantilize
YouTube.
all
Who's
the time.
infantilizing? Nobody's
Infantilizing
going
you.
goo goo
Absolutely.
gaga.
I think you learned that
Absolutely
word and you got
infantilized.
excited
Like,
about it. It's not a
What
thing.
university
No
taught
one
you that?
infantilizes
Ooh,
anyone.
little baby Pearl. She
No,
just
Pearl's
wasn't
not
ready.
a little
You got
baby.
2
She's a
million.
6'3" tall
no one
woman.
said
That's
that.
true. She could probably clock me. She might
Yeah,
after
for
the
sure.
show. But
I'm gonna have
the
to walk
reality
you
is
out of
that
here.
If you've got 2 million on YouTube, if this is your entire bread and butter is shitting on women and bringing all these stats, you should do a better job. Maybe if your
She's not
ideas are right,
shitting on
defend them
women.
well.
I don't think she's shitting on women. I think she's shitting on the dichotomy between men and women and how it's very one-sided.
Why do you think she wouldn't answer whether she'd date a broke man?
Because she's a chick and no chicks are smart
Anna
ones
said I
don't
dated
date broke dudes.
Anna,
Even though
Anna-
broke dudes probably lay down better pipe statistically.
Anna was willing to say it.
What statistics? Cite your statistics. Cite the statistics.
True. What's your-
Pornhub.com. So, do you have anything you had to get into real quick, Ben, or do you want me to do a read real quick?
Oh, yeah. No, we can talk about this. Okay, so one of the most fascinating things about tonight, I think if we just opened this up where everybody down there could have come up on stage, they were ready to debate. I had to stop. There was a triangle debate going on, right? It was Anna versus Pearl, and then Anna versus the audience. Here's the thing. If you want to be a part of this, you can be. So go, if you're watching right now online, right? You're going to go to wordwardebate.com. And you're going to go to, let me just get it right here, enter the arena. And if you do that, you can fill out an online submission, and that would allow you to be able to submit to be able to get up and do one of these debates. And in fact, I would say, why don't some of you guys who are in this audience tonight, who have something to say, because you do, and some of you I know are mad that we're probably up here right now and said, we didn't get to do questions. Where were our questions? Go to Enter the Arena and let's see who we can get you debating against, because you have a lot to say. You guys can do this, and hopefully you've learned from this experience what it takes to be in that arena, because it's not for the faint of heart, right? If you want to do this, you got to have more than just a couple lines. You got to come armed to the teeth.
So what we're doing is we're basically creating a league for debaters, because a lot of debaters debate in high school. They graduate high school, maybe go to college. If they're lucky to get on a debate team, they got nowhere to go. So we've created a place to go. And it's kind of like Dana White's looking for a fight. We're looking for the new debater. We want you to come in on our debate. Rob Noir, who did a great job tonight, he's going to be moderating those debates. We're looking for the next great debater, and we're going to have you. If we find one by the time we have the next show, we'll have you here up on the main stage, putting on debate and let the world see how great you are. Ben, you were fantastic.
I appreciate it.
Kyla, you were fucking phenomenal. Everybody was phenomenal.
Wow.
You did great, Gavin. You brought the heat, clipped it up.
Now that you already hate me, that I can't ruin it more.
I don't.
I want
you're
the
my
next.
favorite.
What about tit versus ass men?
Yeah, I mean, dude, we don't have to do serious debates ever. Tim Dillon wants to come on and argue like cake versus pie.
Are you a tit man or an ass man?
I'm an ass man.
Okay, so we'd be on the same side.
Me too.
That would be a good debate, though, don't you think?
One person I really want to thank again is Wise Wolf, Gold and Silver. Listen, guys, fiat money is going to be, they're just printing it crazy. The money you have in the bank is worth less and less and less. If you want to stabilize your money, you got to go to wordwardebate.gold. Use the promo code WORD, and you too can get in on the Precious Metals game. And if you think you can't afford it, guess again. They got all these different programs. They're Wolfpack stuff. You can get Precious Metals sent right to your house for as little as $50 a month. I'm telling you, stabilize your money right now. It's going to get crazy. Gold, silver, guns, lands, get into them now. You should not hit the table like that. I've been asked not to. I just want to take a moment real quick to thank so many people who worked on the show tonight to make it happen. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but the show went on. It was a huge success. We had over 30,000 people watching a show that for the first time. We had a great crowd. Give the audience a big round of applause. I want to thank, first of all, Ben Swan. This would not have happened tonight if Ben hadn't stepped up. Without Ben Swan, there would be no WW1. Ben, thank you so much for being just gracious and helping us and believing in the whole thing. I want to thank the Enlightened Network. I want to thank David Lugo. I want to thank Nate Pasquale. I want to thank Sean Hibbler. Those guys listened to my pitch, gave me a chance, and I love you. And there's people behind the scenes too, like KJ, we had Tom Jones, and Rob Noir is the ghost in the machine. And we're about to announce the winner. I want to thank all the people. Wow, and the votes are in, and it's a lot closer than some people thought. Trust me on that. And the winner tonight is Anna Kasparian by 14 votes, everybody. 17 votes, if I could add. I flunked first grade. So Anna Kasparian with the big win tonight. Everybody did great. We love you so much. The next one is March 28th, guys. WW2, going to be bigger, better than ever. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Kyla. Thank you, Ben. Thank you to everybody. And thank you guys who watched at home. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you guys very much.